Firearms. Firearms are the great equalizer. They could very quickly change the balance of power from those who wish to do harm to those who wish to protect. The question is, if you no longer had access to your firearms, would you still feel prepared? And could you still survive? So for 16 years of my life, I've been a concealed carry holder, and I've carried a firearm almost every single day of that 16 years. And the majority of my preparedness training was anchored upon the proficient use and manipulation of that self-defense tool. Now, 2 years ago, my family and I were called into the mission field in Latin America. And that means for 2 years, I have not had access to my primary self-defense tool. So what I want to share with you guys today is the lessons that I've learned in those 2 years since shifting the context of carrying every day to not having access to it. And perhaps some of these lessons can add to your repertoire of preparedness and self-defense. Now, first and foremost, let me give a quick and clear disclaimer. I am not advocating that anyone go unarmed. As a matter of fact, the opposite is true. I am a heavy advocate of the Second Amendment and of people having the rights and access to personal protection. So carry if you can, get trained to proficiency upon any weapon system that you have, and educate your loved ones regarding firearms and firearm safety, because an armed society is a polite society. So what I'm gonna say today is not a replacement for being trained and armed. Instead, it's gonna get you guys to think critically regarding additional layers of protection that will precede the use of a last line of defense weapon. Also, this will not be a training video per se. This is more of a thought exercise for you guys to think through regarding your personal preps. And I wanna start by having you guys consider the following truths. First and foremost, the use of a firearm for lethal force is our least desired outcome of any conflict. Secondarily, there should be a multitude of options and skills employed before you use that last line of defense. And thirdly, I want you to consider that when these last line of defense tools are used, it can often be traced back to a cascade of failures of other off-ramps and options that were not used, but led to that least desirable outcome. So personally, in my context, since I no longer have that last line of defense option accessible to me, I have to compensate with other things that precede that outcome. And unfortunately, that means making these 3 things I'm gonna share with you today my primary line of defense. So for those of you who are watching this today and you still do carry on a daily basis, let this video serve as a reminder to not neglect the training in these other areas I'm gonna mention to you, because they can definitely serve as a buffer, if not even a preventative measure before going to that last option. And remember, the gunfight that you always win is the gunfight that you avoid to begin with. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the first point that I want to highlight to you today. So the first skill that I've had to retune ever since moving into this new context where I no longer have a firearm available to me is situational awareness. Now, situational awareness can be defined by different people in different ways, but what it means to me is this. It is the observation and interpretation of all sensory input and available data, meaning that your eyes, ears, nose, your mind, and everything else around you is being taken in and processed in an appropriate manner to come to some logical conclusions regarding the state of things around you. And I'm going to share with you guys something that was a bit of an uncomfortable truth that I realized about myself. And it was that there was something about carrying a firearm that tended to lower my situational awareness. It was almost as if having a firearm on my person on a daily basis kind of lulled me into a sense of comfortability and complacency. But now, not having access to that tool every day, I've had to reprioritize my sense of situational awareness. So whenever me and my family are in public areas or places with a lot of people, I'm always scanning for potential threats, looking around for things that seem like they're a bit out of place, paying attention to odd sounds and even odd smells, and being observant to the general vibe or feeling of a place. Also, I tend to keep my eyes open for potential exits and potential assets within my vicinity. And I've had to learn how to do all of this while not looking suspicious myself, because the last thing you want to do is present yourself as a threat to the wrong individuals. But in addition to the type of situational awareness that we might all be familiar with, I've also learned to zoom out quite a bit. And what I mean by that is I'm more reliant upon local and regional news to tell me what's going on any given day? Are things kind of getting a little spicy in a particular region, or is there a big festival going on that I don't know about? Are there protests or civil unrest going on in a place that I plan to be traveling to? Those are things that I actively look up before planning my daily outings. And lastly, one of the more important things that I've changed since being out of the United States and not having access to my last line of defense has been a willingness to remain flexible. A willingness to leave on the spot if I get a weird gut feeling or some sense of discernment that things just ain't right. And 9 out of 10 times that gut feeling is there for a reason. So even if you do carry on a daily basis, I would say that it's good to always retrain that sense of situational awareness throughout your day-to-day living. Never become so comfortable or complacent because you have access to a weapon that could protect your life and the life of others that you forget to try to look and navigate around those potential conflicts before you're engaged in one. So put down your phones, keep your head on a swivel, make sure you're paying attention to all the sensory input around you, and remain flexible with your plans, being ever willing to drop all things and leave if you feel like you should. But even if you're not in my context, heightening that level of situational awareness just a little bit will always be an asset for your safety and the safety of your loved ones. So the next skill or asset that I think is very valuable to learn for your daily preparedness is verbal and nonverbal de-escalation, or another term for that would be therapeutic crisis intervention. Now, part of my employment history includes social services, residential care, and even working in the field of education. And in this field, since we're typically dealing with emotionally unstable people, we had tons of training in this area. And this type of training gives you the skills to recognize the stages of emotional escalation, as well as how and when to intervene to de-escalate those conflict situations. Now, don't get me wrong, nowadays, I ain't being paid to de-escalate nobody. But the aspect of that training that I find super useful in my context now is the identification and recognition of the antecedents to emotional escalation. In other words, seeing the lit fuse before the bomb goes off. Recognizing changes in tone and body language and in baseline movement, or even in group and social dynamics. Recognizing what stands out to me on a person-to-person level, and then adjusting my presence and my posture accordingly. And when you're able to recognize that emotional escalation pattern, you might be able to intervene by informing the authorities that this person might be ready to do something very bad. Now, the other aspects of verbal and nonverbal de-escalation, as well as therapeutic crisis intervention, will definitely be an asset to your personal preparedness repertoire. And for me, in my given context, the benefit of those trainings is the ability to see emotional escalation happen and being able to intervene before it explodes or get out because you know it's about to pop off. Now, the third area of skill that I've had to develop over the past 2 years being outside of the United States is that of physical fitness. Now, I know that might seem a bit hypocritical coming from a high-calorie human such as myself, but trust me, I'm a work in progress. 2 years ago, back when I lived in the United States, I was slowly but surely approaching 300 pounds. Now, I'm a big boy, I'm 6'1", and I've always had broad chest and broad shoulders, but that's still a whole lot of weight for my frame to carry. And I wouldn't say carrying a gun led me to not take care of my physical frame, but I think subconsciously I didn't feel more of a pressing need to make myself more fit and more of a protector for my family. Now, since moving out of the United States, I've actually dropped about 50 or 60 pounds. Probably closer to 50 now because last week was Thanksgiving and I did a little bit too much. But I've managed to keep a lot of that weight off, and I think there's several factors surrounding that. Obviously, plenty of sunshine, access to fresher foods. Where I live now, there's hardly any cold weather, so I have the ability to get outside even during those winter months. And the lifestyle here just includes more movement generally. There wasn't any specific diet involved, I just stopped eating junk and started moving more. But I still have about another 10 or 20 pounds I still want to shed. But I can tell you, in all honesty, even though I'm in my early 40s now, I haven't had this much energy and this much mobility or flexibility in a long time. And with that added mobility and flexibility, I've also been retraining some of my martial arts base. I've been retuning a lot of my grappling and submissions, as well as a lot of my firearm and weapons disarms. I've been learning more and more escape and evasion techniques. And though I don't claim to be an expert in any one of those fields, I am proficient in the least sense of the word. And reprioritizing my health has made me a more capable protector and defender of myself and my loved ones. But for now, I think taking an honest assessment of your personal health and fitness can be a huge asset to shoring up your personal preparedness levels. So in conclusion, even if you do carry your wireless hole puncher on a daily basis, I think getting training in these 3 areas can help to expand your repertoire of personal preparedness. And these skills can serve as a buffer before having to employ that last line of defense option that we all truly don't ever want to use. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. What other non-weapon related skills are important to develop to heighten your level of personal preparedness? And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit the like button, share this with your friends, and subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this. Until next time, God bless and peace.